The primary use of any alarm is to awaken people, but the ISE 1.0 alarm was hardly able to do that. Several customers complained about the ISE 1.0 alarms. Alarms were almost invisible at the bottom of the screen. They were not prominent enough to discover. The ISE usability team discovered other critical problems in the old alarm design. First, there was no visual indication if the alarm count has been changed. Second, if any alarm arrives, it was not able to draw enough attention. Third, alarms were displayed more like a collection of events that increased unnecessarily over the time due to repetitive occurrences. Scanning of alarms was not the only difficulty. Removing them from the list was almost impossible. The alarm widget design was extremely fuzzy. If you maximize, it covers up the whole of the desktop, eventually hiding all the operational screens behind it. In ISE 1.2, we designed alarms to be much simpler. First, we decided to bring the ISE alarms into a more prominent position, placed inside the ISE dashboard. Alarms inside the dashlet are brief, minimized information, sorted by time. The number of alarm occurrences has also been summarized. Users can see how long a specific alarm has been persisting and how severe it is. We have compacted the large number of alarm counts into realistic, task-oriented severity buckets. Interestingly, we follow the father of interaction design, Alan Cooper's approach. Cooper differs from task analysis-based approaches by focusing first on goals to ensure that the right tasks are identified. Since we are clear about the actual goal of the alarms, it was easy for us to simplify ISE alarm tasks on the admin settings page. We purposely restricted the number of alarm categories in 1.2 with respect to severity, unlike forcing the user to create their own free-form alarms in ISE 1.0. In ISE 1.0, if a user did not properly create or define an alarm, there was no way to monitor a problem in the ISE deployment, or to trace any critical error. ISE 1.0 alarms were completely ignorant about it, and now, by this new design, we eventually solved this catastrophic ISE functionality problem. Moreover, in ISE 1.2, we decided to enable all those predefined alarms by default, which the user can edit, turn off, or may enable more filters for a specific alarm setting. There is another important enhancement I would love to talk about. You have probably seen in ISE 1.0, alarms were all individual isolated events. So if you had clicked to view an alarm, it had shown just one alarm's description in a whole blank page completely disconnected from the whole list of occurrences. Therefore, it had no significant impact on troubleshooting. However, in 1.2, we redesigned alarms as a collection of similar yet repeated events. Clicking an alarm shows the collection of occurrences serially positioned into the alarm list. It also suggests to the user a possible remedy to tackle a specific situation. It makes it not only easy to trace and troubleshoot, but also helps to take effective action to resolve it. Once the user acknowledges or views a specific alarm, the system marks it addressed and removes it from the list of alarms in the dashboard. The alarm dashlet will never become overloaded with old alarms that have already been viewed.
We know we cannot isolate the usability without considering engineering. A good design is therefore driven by need and defined by constraints. Finding the best effective solution under various constraints is therefore called innovation. And yes, we already learned it from the nature and civilization, not from the design school.
ISE alarms may look like a simple and small feature, but in actuality it is extremely critical for any system administrator. We believe, therefore, that it is our responsibility to offer the best, simplest design that we can. We believe simplicity is not the goal, it is the byproduct of a good idea and modest expectations, and that's why every simple design has a complicated evolution behind it. Design is redesign. Authentication's live log is another interesting feature that could stand as the best example of what we mean by that. You can find it on the main menu under Operations, then click on Authentications. In ISE 1.0, this screen was more like a typical endpoint log history displayed in a boring, flat table. Realistically, users are more interested in seeing the sequence of events that contributed to a log rather than an isolated log of a specific endpoint. Therefore, in 1.2, we wanted to leverage this flat session log into a robust sequence of productive information. The ISE design team started brainstorming with engineers, product owners, and analyzing several customers' use cases. We discovered another interesting feature of ISE 1.0 called the session directory, which was exceptionally important but somewhat hidden under ISE reports. This sparked a collective decision to combine the old sequence directory and live log into a more useful, effective, and action-oriented user experience while not disrupting the current live log behavior, and came up with this new authentication page. We have taken information about the username, endpoint ID, IP address, identity group, posture status, etc. from the log, and now here you can see the list of events that contributed to a particular session. Each column is sortable and has hyperlinks that take you to the respective detail report. Clicking on a row of the initiated column takes you to the respective radius authentication page. Clicking on Endpoint ID takes you to an authentication summary report. Live log design is probably the best example of this. The only true voyage of discovery is not to go to new places, but to view with other eyes, and a good user experience is always a collective effort of technology, business, and creativity, a byproduct of collective conviction, not anyone alone. You will never get harmony if everyone sings the same note. Creating policies is the most complicated task for any system administrator. It essentially became more complicated because of the poor user experience of ISE 1.0. In ISE 1.2, indeed, we explored several options for a much simpler user interface design, but we faced various development and release constraints and finally decided to improve only a few essential alternatives. The ISE 1.0 authorization policy page was much slower because of its nature of parallel loading of all policies compared to the ISE 1.2 version. The policies were loaded in an editable format as a default, which ended up in costing a huge amount of browser memory. In contrast, 1.2 policy pages are designed to be much lighter to ensure performance and ease of use. We are working on a goal to load over 600 policies in less than 10 seconds. We also improved the user experience of the Expression Builder widget. The Expression Builder is a complex, hybrid popover used to construct policy conditions and expressions. As you can see in the 1.0, the user needs to select the left-hand side of a condition, then the operator, and based on the left-hand side dictionary, right-hand side values are being populated in a drop-down box. However, in 1.2, we enhanced the usability of the selection by removing the restriction and surprise. The interface guides the user in both the left-hand side and right-hand side by loading the same dictionary consistently, displaying the allowed values, as well as an option to either pick or choose from the dictionary or to enter manually to the condition field. As an example, if you select a radius value as calling station ID, you are able to type a free-form device ID, such as MAC address, or you can pick a value from the dictionary. In addition, the 1.0 dictionary widget was not able to search for any value. In 1.2 version, we have integrated a clear search criteria. There should be no surprise that designers need to work on technological constraints as a part of any application development process. Design, therefore, is always a continuous evolution of a product, however small or large it would be. At times, we cannot dream of a magical leap, but rather must stay focused on a tiny, cost-effective improvement, and this small design change speaks nothing but the same truth.